After the breakout success of Mario 64 in 1996, every man and his dog wanted to make a 3D platformer. Oh, sorry, I misread. Every man wanted to make his dog into a 3D platformer. There were so many fluffy protagonists back then that even as someone with multiple pairs of Pokémon pajama pants full of pocket money who was obsessed with the genre, I still somehow managed to miss quite a few otherwise big-name 3D platformers around the late 90s, early 2000s. But, luckily for us, we are in the age of remakes, re-releases, and PC ports of games originally from what are worryingly starting to be considered retro consoles. For some reason, I distinctly remember seeing a TV commercial for Ty the Tasmanian Tiger back when it first released in 2002. In those days, 11-year-old me thought that Tasmanian was just a word that was used to describe something aggressive that likes to spin around in circles a lot. Of course, these days I know that the Tasmanian Devil and the Tasmanian Tiger are actually real animals from Australia, the latter of which sadly in the last 100 years went extinct. Well done, humans, you did it again. Here's hoping there isn't a surprise twist in this game where running out of lives is literally the reason that Ty's entire species no longer exists. Naturally, you play as Ty, as the name of the game of course suggests. This isn't Legend of Zelda, or God forbid, Celeste. Ty is a spry and eager young lad who, just like all Australian boys who have come of age, carries a boomerang with him wherever he goes. For the most part, if you have played any other game in this genre, then you know exactly how this one will go, both narratively and gameplay-wise. The story is, of course, bad guy has done bad stuff for what are essentially pretty racist reasons, and in doing that bad stuff, he has scattered a bunch of collectibles all around the world which you have to collect. I mean, come on, we're citizens of the internet. We're all used to not watching for the plot by now. Through an ever-expanding hub world and a series of magical portals, you collect a variety of increasingly rare collectibles in a race to ultimately have more stuff than the bad guy so that he can't do bad things anymore. There are, as you'd expect, the super common collectibles, which, despite there being a few hundred in every single level, you still somehow frequently find your way to the end with exactly one left to collect, meaning that you've got to speed run through the whole level again just to try and find it. And then there's the optional slightly less common collectibles, which in this game are definitely not Jinjos. And then finally, there are these super valuable collectibles that are typically rewarded just for completing a level or doing some sort of larger side mission, such as working out a hidden puzzle, or the absolute classic of the genre, helping a negligent mother find her children. And despite the fact that literally everyone will die unless you successfully gather all of these widgets together, an alarming number of them will just be handed over to you by the very same characters whose lives literally depend on it, who were seemingly holding on to these things for absolutely no reason other than to get you to do them some personal favor first. It's a game from 2002, but it's stunning how much of a metaphor that is for the world in current year. Despite the game being entirely set in the ever-sunny Australia, there's still a solid amount of variance in the level themes, from jungle water slides to summery barrier reefs to outback cattle stations, relaxing waterholes in the day to relaxing waterholes at night. Heck, they even managed to squeeze in a few ice levels, because, of course, what 3D platformer is complete without those? The amount of sprawling pathways and secret areas means that there's plenty of exploring to be done, and finding every single thing in most levels is a genuinely rewarding challenge. On top of that, the game has this almost RPG style of progression with the aforementioned boomerangs that do a lot more than just go away and come back. They go away and come back on fire. They go away and come back on ice. They can act like a sonar to help you find collectibles, and actually quite a lot more. Of course though, the real challenge of the game, like many from this era, is getting the f***ing camera to just behave and not aggressively reset itself to looking at the floor every single time you jump. For all the typical genre tropes and mechanics that Ty implements, to its credit, it does do them well, with a fair amount of crikey bonzerific, fair dinkum original ideas. All the Sheilas must be thinking I'm a right bloody drongo for not playing it sooner. I am so sorry. Kao the Kangaroo, round 2. Get it? His name is KO. Like KO? Because he's a boxer? There seems to be a distinctly Australian theme in this video, which I promise you isn't intentional. And it's actually kind of surprising, given that although the Ty series was indeed developed by an Australian team, Kao is straight out of Poland. Heck, even one of the most legendary characters from this genre, Crash Bandicoot himself, is based on an Oceanic exclusive animal, and his creators are Americans. Then again, I suppose if you want to find a non-human character who's going to spend the entire game kicking, biting, and just generally being violent towards every living thing around it, then why wouldn't you look to Australia for inspiration? It's just a matter of time before someone releases Drop Bears 3D. As with Ty, I never played Kao growing up, although I vaguely remember its release. Back in early 2020, the developers of the game were donating all profits from the Steam version to relief funds for the horrible wildfires that were covering Australia at the time. So, being a fan of the genre, it really was a perfect time for me to pick it up and see what I'd missed. Excuse me, what did you just say?
Ow! Finally!
I'm sorry, but what the fuck? There is no way that this guy is a boxing kangaroo with a name spelled like this, and it is pronounced cow. The ad for the reboot even has the phrase KO in it. Seriously, cow? Cow? Anyway, much like his Tasmanian compatriot, Kao's adventure goes boldly where the genre very much has gone before. Bad guy does bad thing for bad reasons, and you play as the chosen hero, collecting collectibles to ultimately stop them. You start off in Beaver's Forest, so at least this game isn't taking itself too seriously. And to be fair, they've put a great amount of character into, well, the character, even if that sometimes is ripped straight out of the Crash series. You've got jump rope idle animations, climbing across overhead nets with his ears instead of his hands, and whatever the hell this is. I only wish they'd put the same amount of effort that they did into the quirky character and environment art as they did into the gameplay and level design. You see, most courses massively overstay their welcome, and they seem to be a complete hodgepodge of random ideas, all thrown together, with no real obvious attempt at consistent theming or some sort of progressively evolving gameplay mechanic. For example, the second level in the whole game starts off with a definitely independently conceived run towards the screen escape from a giant bear, whose two separate sections alone would adequately fulfill the criteria of a standard-length video game level. But that's not even Act 1 of this level. You then have to platform and fight through a section of flailing kraken tentacles. Then it's time to wrestle with some bees. After that, you need to build a floating bridge out of these nuts, which opens up the path to the gemstone cave system, where the next order of business is of course to beat up a gnome. After that, you navigate through a lava tunnel of flipping platforms. On the other side of that, you need to hop, skip, and jump past some sharks. And then, finally, the obvious and most absolutely logical conclusion to this collection of ideas. Lure a humanoid stick of dynamite into a giant crystal to gain access to the trampoline mushroom, which is trapped inside. Again, this is all from one single level. The levels were so long and meandering that I didn't even want to go back into them and get that one single coin that I missed. A quick fourth wall break here. I genuinely didn't script this. When playing through both of these games, trying to 100% every level on the first run through multiple times, I genuinely ended up with one coin remaining. It's a curse. By the time that I got to the second hub world and was repeatedly sniped out of the air by barely visible projectiles fired from around corners, seemingly set up to intentionally screw you over whilst platforming, I just had to put the game down. Honestly, I do hate to rag on any game, especially in a video like this, which is intended for light entertainment as opposed to critical review. And hey, with an all-time overwhelmingly positive review score on Steam, maybe my opinion is just wrong. But seriously, Kao? The Legend of K. At least I assume it's K. Who even knows anymore? Unlike the other two game series that I definitely remember from being a kid, Legend of K seems to have completely passed me by. For a moment, I thought that the name was familiar, but then I realized I was actually thinking of Legacy of Kain. So just to clarify, we're about to play the 2020's remaster of PlayStation game Legend of K, which is absolutely in no way related to the 2020's remaster of the PlayStation game Legacy of Kain. There's probably something more to be said here about the current generation of remakes, remasters, and reboots, but we'll save that for future me. Anyway, to its credit, Legend of K puts much more focus on the story than I've come to expect from the 3D platforming genre. Sure, it basically once again boils down to here be racism, and I'm pretty sure that this is yet another retelling of Journey to the West, but they've clearly put effort into a more substantial narrative here, and I've got genuine respect for that. Although, if anything, Legend of K probably leans too hard on creating a narrative, because by the time that I'd finished Chapter 1 and had logged about an hour total playtime, I reckon about 30 whole minutes of that was either in unskippable cutscenes or in unavoidable dialogue. When people talk about balance between story and gameplay, I don't think they mean aiming for exactly 50% of each. Now, I'm sure it goes without saying at this point, but of course you play as the Chosen One, and you have to fight and front flip through the game world, helping out your neighbors along the way. And I kid you not, one of the very first objectives is to help a negligent mother find her kids. Aside from that though, Legend of K's structure also differs greatly from what we've come to expect, and instead of hub worlds and portals, the entire game is one long linear path with some wider side paths to take, but ultimately one true way to advance to the next area. However, the game's Steam page rather generously describes the game as having 25 different levels, which is honestly part of what influenced me to pick up the game for this video, but that's really no more true than describing, say, BioShock as having different levels. Which is to say that it's kind of true, but not in the same way that Spyro the Dragon and Mario 64 has levels, which naturally is what I expected. Now, as I mentioned, we're playing the proudly claimed remastered version of the game, which basically means, damn, look at this shiny floor. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I doubt it's much to do with the character models. For example, just look at this guy, Whoopi Goldberg Cheshire Cat looking bugger. But in all seriousness, I am gonna praise this game like I should, because I really love the little attentions to details, like the Karate Kid pose when standing on a post, and Kay shaking himself dry like a dog after a swim. Or a cat, I guess. I don't think I've ever actually seen a cat go for a swim. I always assumed that they just repelled off water, like when you tape a slice of buttered toast to their backs and drop them off a table. You know what I mean. The game also has some pretty cool set pieces, a consumable item system much closer to something like Zelda than a traditional 3D platform, and a healthy amount of secrets which reward you for exploration. And none of that is to mention the actual gameplay, with a good variety of combat, platforming, and simple puzzle solving all weaved together pretty damn well. But oh boy, are there some bad parts. Like, right at the start of the game, a guy literally calls you a pussy. I know you're a cat, but come on dude, this is a kid's game. But in all seriousness, true to the genre, there's the obligatory barely functional camera, which in this game just doesn't let you look up. Like, at all? Seriously, trying to angle the camera upward just zooms in for some reason. There's also the excessive, and I mean excessive, unskippable dialogue, which even comes up for things like doors for just walking near them. Not interacting with them, just walking near them. And as far as I can tell, on top of this, they're bugged, because more often than not, they come up twice. Anytime that you might accidentally walk too close to a door when just running around. The best bug I got though was this Bethesda-style banger, when this NPC phased through me and then proceeded to have an entire unskippable conversation stood with their back to mine. It actually reminds me of an old comedy rhyme that's probably as old as, well, games like this. One fine day in the middle of the night, two dead boys got up to fight. Back to back they faced each other, drew their swords and shot each other. A deaf policeman heard the noise and saved the lives of the two dead boys. If you don't believe my lies are true, ask the blind man, because he saw it too. Legend of K originally launched in 2005, and by then 3D platformers helmed by quirky animal protagonists were already in steep decline. Spyro had flown off, and he would soon land in the sky, and Banjo-Kazooie was just about to do this. These days, trends in gaming tend to be much, much hotter. And you can find out more in the next episode of Casperrvision. Be sure to subscribe to be the first to know when it releases next week, or if you're watching this in the future, click the link on screen right now and enjoy.